Welcome to the Collide Kids podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey, y'all. Welcome to the second episode of the Collide Kids podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Well, we did one. We might as well do another one. So here we go. Before I tell you about my next guest, I wanted to remind you about the kids only segment at the end. I am looking forward to hearing some great jokes from my friends today. I hope you are too. I would love for you to be a part of the podcast. I'll give you some more information about how you can do the same thing towards the end. Well, my special guest for today is magician Tommy Johns. He grew up in a small town in Alabama and started doing magic tricks as a hobby when he was just a kid. Then in 2001, he decided to follow his dream of doing magic for a living. He's performed in churches, schools, libraries, and special events all over the U.S. Listen, you're in for a treat. He's going to perform a magic trick on the podcast. I tried to tell him this is just audio, no video. So you're going to have to you're going to have to hear it to believe it. You'll need to get a pencil or a pen and a piece of paper and be ready to help him with the trick. It's going to be amazing. So abracadabra, here is my conversation with Mr. Tommy Johns. Well, welcome to the show, Mr. Tommy Johns. I'm so excited to have you today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
This is so cool. I know you from you've done a few events at my church, and we've seen some of the things that you do. I'm a little jealous of your job because I can't do it. That's why. You are a magician. I think that's so awesome. So anyway, will you introduce yourself and tell us about yourself and about being a magician?
All right. My name is Tommy Johns. I am a full-time professional magician, which means it's my job to go to schools and libraries and churches, fairs and festivals, special events to entertain. And kind of my job to make people laugh and make them forget some of the troubles that they've got and just be amazed and enjoy what I do. I've often told people it would be a much better world if everybody got applause for doing their job. It'd be great.
I would love that.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it? And so, every time I go out to work, in addition to getting a paycheck, I get a round of applause, and so that is a lot of fun. I've been doing this since I was a little kid, and so
really. How did you get started in magic?
Well, it's kind of you ask 100 magicians how they got started, and 75 of them are going to start out the same way. When I was 8 years old, or when I was 9 years old, those seem to be the ages we get interested in it. When I was 8 years old, I got a magic set, and I started learning how to do magic. And I got a book from the library. I saw Mark Wilson on television doing his magic show, and I thought, well, that'd be really cool. I'd like to do that. I was in Cub Scouts, and one of the things that we could do for one of the electives is to perform in front of our pack. And so I could quote poetry, I could sing a song, I could do a comedy sketch with a friend of mine, or I could do a magic trick. And I chose to do magic because I couldn't sing and couldn't dance and all those other things, but I decided to do a magic trick. And when I did that, everybody there was this gasp, and then there was the applause. And when that happened, I knew, man, this is fun. This is something I want to do. And so I pursued it through elementary, middle school, kind of dropped off a little bit during high school. And then when I got to college, my freshman year, there was a magician who came to campus to do a show. And when I watched him perform, it kind of relit the fire for me. And so I found somebody in Birmingham. I was going to Samford University at the time. And I found somebody in Birmingham who could teach me how to do magic. He had been a
Oh,
The only
cool.
job he'd ever had, he was now a college junior. The only job he had ever had was doing magic shows for people. He had started when he was 10 years old, making money doing it. And he started teaching me how to do magic. He's now the pastor of Hunter Street Baptist Church in Alabama, in Birmingham. But at the time, he was a student just like me, and he taught me my first magic trick. And
Which was what? What was your first magic trick?
where you take a silk scarf, you make it vanish, and then you pull it out of somebody's sleeve. As a matter of fact, I still open almost every show with that trick. If you've seen me one, you've probably seen me do that. And so I make that disappear, and so he decided I was a good enough student. He started teaching me, and about a year later, he called me up and he said, "I've got a show tonight, and I'm sick. I'm throwing up, and I need you to come by and come by my dorm room, pick up my stuff, and go do the show." I'd never performed except just for friends, and so I did it. I followed the directions, went to the show, set up, did the show, and it was awesome. I mean, it was just so much fun, and I knew then that this was going to be more than just a hobby for me. So
that's really cool.
I did spend a number of years with a real job. I was the minister of education, minister of youth, minister of children. I've done a lot of different church jobs, but in 2001, decided to make the big, bold leap to becoming a magician full time. And so almost 20 years.
Can you make a living being a magician full time? Like
Absolutely.
How do you do that?
Best year that I ever had, I did close to 600 shows.
Wow.
That was great. Most years I've averaged around 300 shows. And to do that, of course, you've got to do more than just do magic. You've got to get out there and advertise. You've got to go to conventions. You've got to go to conferences. You've got to hand out your business cards. You've got to stop by churches. You've got to call churches and schools and tell them what you do and make sure that they know and they understand that what you do could benefit them in some way. And so, so if you're willing to do all the other work, then you get to play and get people to hand you a check and give you a big round of applause when you're done. So.
That's cool. Well, you mentioned before we started the podcast that you wanted to talk to the kids about the magic of attitude. So tell me a little bit about that. Why you think it's so important to have a good attitude?
Well, everybody's got an attitude. It's one of those things like belly buttons. Everybody's got them. But it really, I think having a good attitude is so important in almost every facet of our lives. Nobody wants to hang around a friend who is always negative and who's always down and who's always complaining and griping about every little thing. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to fake it. I'm not saying that you pretend that everything's good. Goodness knows this is a difficult time for everybody right now with all the stuff that's going on. And my business dried up in March, and I've only done a few shows. I learned how to do virtual shows this summer. I also recorded and edited my 45-minute show, a 1-hour magic workshop, and several other products that I've managed to do. So I had to make some adjustments, but it would have been very easy just to go, nobody wants to get an audience. Nobody wants a magician anymore, and just get really down. So I think that for just about everything, having a good attitude is extremely important. It's really important when it comes to personal relationships, being positive and encouraging other people. I think part of being able to fulfill what the Bible tells us to do, encourage one another, means that you have to be encouraged yourself. You have to have a good attitude. Yeah. And I think there are a lot of ways to do that. So it's not just with relationships. If you've got a good attitude towards school, your chances of doing well in school are going to be much better. If you've got a good attitude toward whatever school looks like this fall for the kids that are listening. I know that I talked to my grandson this morning. He's in 3rd grade, and he had a Zoom meeting this morning. He's got another Zoom meeting this afternoon. And he doesn't know any of the kids in his class, and he can't go out and play at recess like he always loved to do. And didn't get to wear his, first day of school clothes or pack his lunch or any of that kind of stuff. And so, but he's got a real upbeat attitude about all this stuff, even though it's different than what he wants. And so I think that having a good attitude is a real key to being successful in almost any area of our lives.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you have a job that kind of lends itself to that because you're on stage. And so sometimes like I'm a stage person, so I know how to like put on a smile even though I don't feel like having a smile. So what's the difference in being like true, like having a truly good attitude versus just faking it? Or is that part of it?
Well, I think there are certainly times when I have been too tired. Like a couple of summers ago, I did 75 shows in less than 60 days. And
Oh, wow.
and I traveled all over 3 states to do that. I was gone from home a lot. And there were times, but that by Friday afternoon, I was just worn out. And so, but like you said, you step up on the stage and something happens and you get that energy and you
Mm-hmm.
do that. I don't really consider that faking it as much as I consider that just digging deep and finding what you got there.
Yeah.
I won't say that I never have faked it in front of a crowd, but for the most part, I think it's just a matter of, what I do energizes me. It gets me excited. And I just can't think of a more fun thing to do than to go to work, for my job.
Yeah.
But I think that having a good attitude is a lot deeper than just having a smile on your face and saying the right things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the keys to having a good attitude is to know what's important in life. And one of those things is to have a relationship with God. I want to be careful here because I know that there are people who have a good relationship with God and they're sad because of something that's going on in their lives, or they're depressed because of the way that they happen to be wired. And so I'm not criticizing people who aren't happy all the time. I'm not saying that they need to
Right.
be, but knowing that I serve a God who is in control, even when it seems like things are not.
Mm-hmm.
Things are not under control. Things are crazy. Having a relationship with a God like that gives me hope. And hope, I think, is one of the things that is a key to having a good attitude, because I am very hopeful. I am hopeful that when this is over, things are going back to normal.
Yeah.
I am hopeful that I'm going to get to hug people again. I am hopeful.
Oh, I can't wait to hug people again.
I know. So, I think hope is a big part of it. I think that the fact that I've got a relationship with God, and God's promises are true. God's He's active in my life, and He's I don't know. So hope is a big thing. Hope in God's promises, hope in the future,
Mm-hmm.
hope for tomorrow. I think another thing that helps with a positive attitude is to find things that make you smile, find things that make you happy. I've got a good friend in Tennessee who says that every time he feels depressed, one of the first things he does is he finds somebody to help. And he goes,
that's good. Yeah. When you put it on someone else, it gives you that, you get blessed by that. Like you get encouraged by helping someone.
Absolutely.
And I noticed that it always made me feel good when someone said something about the way I looked or my clothes, or maybe that's a girl thing. But anyway, I always try to compliment somebody like, "Ooh, I like your shirt." Or like today I saw someone, I said, "I like your mask. It's very colorful." Right. Try to find something in someone else, even if it's just their smile or their good attitude, or just to compliment someone else and encourage them. I think that's a really good idea.
But yeah, it's kind of nice to be able to do that and to compliment somebody, even if it's something small like the mask that they're wearing, or that they obviously have great kids, something like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Give them a little encouragement.
So we talked a little bit about our spiritual lives. How does our attitude affect our relationship with God?
We'll be right back after this. Raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.
I think it absolutely has a huge part to play in how we relate to God. If we believe that everything is rotten, everything is awful, if we believe that it's just no fun, if we believe that it probably is not going to work out anyway, things are going to go wrong, then what we're saying there is that we don't really have the faith in the God of the Bible that we should. And so part of reading God's word and part of knowing who he is and having a relationship with him means that I believe that he is in control. I believe that he is a God who loves me and a God who wants the best for me. And even though, at the moment, my life may not be perfect, I know that it's going to work out, that it's going to, that he's rooting for me. And so, And I think that if I believe that, it helps my attitude. We can pray about that. We can ask God to do that for us and to help us with that. But we also need to do some things to make that happen. We need to make a list of the things that are going right in your life, of the people who love you, of the positive things that happened this last week. If you need to do those things so that you can start to see that life's not so bad after all, that life's not just, I can't go to recess with my friends because I'm going to school on Zoom.
My daughter loves to make lists. So that would be a good list to make. Like, what are the good things in my life? And sometimes it might just be that I can take a deep breath of air, that might be the good thing. And if that's the only thing, then you focus on that. Like, I'm so thankful that, I have that.
Never play that down. Never play that down. Being able to breathe is a good thing.
That's right. I think another thing along the lines of what you're talking about, like when we know or we believe that God has created us, then we know that we were created for a purpose. We have a reason that God made us. And some of us are created shy, and some of us are created really confident, and some are created artistic, or they love to be on stage, or they like to be behind the scenes, or, so what do you think it is about recognizing our purpose? How do we know what our purpose is?
Wow, that's a big one.
What is the meaning of life? Tell us.
Exactly. and we got 5 minutes to go. I think that one of the things for me was to realize that whatever it is that God has for me, whether it's right now or 5 years from now or 10 years from now, 25 years ago, whatever it is that God has for me to do, he's given me what I need to do it. And so, to get me in front of people and share an encouraging word, he gave me the ability to do that. He might not be he doesn't call everybody to do that. There are people who are, like you said, people who are shy, people who prefer to work behind the scenes. Now, in my family, I got every bit of this. My younger sister loves her church, and she works really hard for her church. And when Vacation Bible School comes, she starts in February painting backdrops and working on organizing the refreshment list. And she will work for 20, 25 hours a week in addition to her full-time job getting Vacation Bible School ready. But you know what she absolutely hates is at the end of Vacation Bible School when the pastor stands up and say, "Do you like what we did this week? Carol was the one who did that for us. Carol, would you stand up and let us say thank you?" She hates that. And me, let me stand up in front of people. Don't make me do all that work. So what God calls us to do, he equips us to do.
Right.
The thing is that every single one of us has a purpose, and it's up to us to find out what that purpose is. Right. And the purpose might be this year for me to be a magician, and for next year it might be for me to be a speaker, and the year after that I might be on a mission field somewhere. Who knows? It doesn't mean I'm locking it in forever.
Right.
But what God wants me to do right now, he's given me the equipment to do it. And so that's one of the ways you can figure out what it is God wants you to do, is by looking and seeing, okay, what am I good at? What can I do? What has God given me that can be used for his kingdom? How can I do that for people?
Yeah. Or how can I learn more about that?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think too, I feel like a lot of kids need to hear that they don't have to wait until they're an adult to do something for God. They
Absolutely.
can do something for God right now. And so you have a purpose every day. So maybe your purpose is to be kind to your family. And then the next day, your purpose is to do really well on your math test or whatever. Like, you have a purpose every day. And when you embrace it that way, I think you can apply that, that attitude of hope and trying to have a good attitude. I always end my show with my guests by asking you to tell me a memory or something about when you were a kid.
It is, I want to tell you one of my favorite stories. You talk about God equipping somebody to be in the right place at the right time to do his work. I was 10 years old. I was in the 5th grade. My family had just moved from Macon, Georgia, to a really small town in Alabama. We moved from a town where we had shopping malls and big stores to go to, and lots of different types of jobs that people had. Our school, we had art classes and Spanish classes, and now I was in a small town. I didn't have any of that. I didn't have any friends, didn't know anybody. We moved in July, and so school was starting at the end of August, and I'd only met a couple of people in my neighborhood, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And at church. And so we get to school the first day, and everybody in the school knows that I'm the new kid because everybody knows everybody else. I mean, nobody ever moved into that town. And so everybody knows everybody else. And so the teacher did what the teacher always does. I thought on the first day of school when there's a new student. Boys and girls, we have a new student. His name is Tommy. Tommy, would you come up here just a minute? And so I came up at the front of the room. And, I don't hate being at the front of the room, but at that moment, I'm really kind of spotlighted and I got nothing to do. And so I felt really, really awkward. And said, this is Tommy. And Tommy moved here with his family from Macon. Everybody say, hello, Tommy. And, 28 other kids, hello, Tommy. And so, okay, well, have your seat. And so I'm heading back to my seat. And a kid named Mike leans over as I'm walking. And I thought, oh, boy. I thought he was fixing to trip me or throw something at me, be a bully. He said, hey, do you play kickball? I said, yeah. He said, good. You're on my team at recess.
Oh, cool.
I'm 61 years old. I still remember that from 51 years ago.
Wow.
Because that kid included me that day. He didn't have to. Nobody made him do it. I think it's a God thing. I think absolutely that day made me feel like I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that kid, that question, that answer made a difference. Was he doing God's work? I absolutely believe he was. Just as much as I believe the preacher standing in the pulpit on Sunday is doing God's work, just as much as I believe that the soloist singing during worship time is doing God's work, just as much as a Sunday school teacher is doing God's work, I believe that little boy was doing God's work that day.
Yeah, that's good. I think we could always be a good friend. That's always a good choice.
Yeah. I think we're all equipped to do that. Yeah.
That's
you
right.
talked earlier about what God has given us, and we all have the equipment we need to be a good friend to somebody.
That's right. And even we could be a good friend to our brother and sister too. Hello.
Yeah. As challenging as that is.
Well, okay. You told me that you have a magic trick that you can teach us to do right now.
Yes.
Now, this is an audio podcast, so there's no video right now. So how are they going to know how to do it?
Well, everybody's going to help. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to get a piece of paper.
Okay.
And a pen. And since you're listening as a podcast, if you need to pause it and go find that and then come back and click play, this is a great time to do that. But you'll need a pen and a piece of paper. And what I want you to do, if you're ready, is to draw a tic-tac-toe board. 2 lines across and 2 lines up and down so that they intersect and make a tic-tac-toe board. So Christen, have you done that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to number those squares, the 1, 2, 3 across the top row.
1, 2, 3.
On the
Okay.
next line, 4, 5, 6 in the middle row.
4, 5. So 5 would be the center square,
Okay.
right? Okay.
And then 7, 8, 9 across the bottom.
7, 8, 9. Okay.
All right. Now, any number that you put your finger on right now, you would have numbers that are either above or below it, or to the left or the right of it, right?
Okay.
If it goes side to side, those are rows. If it goes up and down, those are columns.
Okay.
All right. So, Christen, I don't want you to tell me which number you've chosen, but I want you to circle one of those numbers. Tell me when you've got that number circled.
Okay.
All right. Now, the numbers that are above and below, all the numbers that are in that column, I want you to mark out. So just kind of draw a line through the ones above it and below it. If it's on the bottom, then you got two numbers above it. If it's on the top, it's 2 below it. If it's somewhere in the middle, you understand what I'm asking?
Yes. Okay.
So all the numbers in that column, and now all the numbers in that row are marked out except for the one you circled.
Okay.
All right. That should leave you with 4 numbers.
Yes.
Don't tell me which one you're going to pick, but circle one of those numbers.
Okay.
Do the same thing. Every number in that row, every number in that column, mark it out unless it's already been circled.
Okay.
All right. That should leave you with 1 number. Right?
Yes.
Circle that number.
Okay.
Add up the 3 numbers that you chose that you circled.
Oh no, I'm not good at math. Okay, hold on. That might take longer.
All right. Don't say it out loud.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
You were in total control here. You chose the number to start with. You chose the second number. Of course, we ended with the number you couldn't choose, but we got there because of the choices you had made earlier. When you added all those numbers up, it's 15.
It is. Good thing I did my math right.
Correct. Now,
wow.
Real quick, it's always 15. Now,
okay.
I will tell you, and I will tell the kids.
You read my mind.
Because this is something they can do for their friends. And the really cool thing, if you love math, like I love math, it'll work with a 4x4 grid or a 5x5 grid.
Cool.
If you've got a 4x4 grid, the answer will always be 35. If you've got a 5x5 grid, I think the answer is 65. You'll have to check it. But anyway, you get somebody to write those numbers down, and you can do that in front of a group. I've done this in front of a group before where I've drawn the tic-tac-toe board on the dry erase board and numbered them and then circled them as somebody made a choice. Tell me a number and I'll circle it and then eliminate the numbers and do it that way. But it always equals 15. And if you don't tell somebody that it always equals 15 and you make a prediction ahead of time, put it in an envelope, seal it up, hand it to somebody, and then do the trick, they open it up and they get that same feeling that you had there a minute ago. Where
that's awesome.
oh, that's so cool. So no way I could have possibly known, but I did. And so, but that's fun. That's a trick that they can do for their friends. And if they like to learn some more magic tricks, I've got a link on my website. It's TommyJohnsPresents.com/5 cool tricks. Yeah, that's it. It's 5 cool tricks.
Oh,
so
cool.
TommyJohnsPresents.com/5, the number 5, not the word, 5 cool tricks. If they go there, they will be able to see 5 videos that will teach them how to do 5 really cool magic tricks that they can do for their friends.
That's awesome. So they could learn to do some magic tricks today.
Exactly.
Well, this has been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. And
this is fun.
Yeah, this is really cool that we got to do a magic trick and we got to learn about all kinds of stuff. So I really appreciate you being here today. And I will post information about you on our website and on our social media so people can check that out and they can learn to do some magic tricks.
All right, very good. Christen, thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me to be a part of this. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, good. You have a good day. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care of yourself.
Wow, how cool that he taught us a magic trick. Now we can go and impress our friends and family. The website he shared was TommyJohnsPresents.com/5 cool tricks. Now, I just checked it out, and one of the tricks is changing a spoon to a fork. So you definitely need to go check that out. I'm going to have to read through that and see if I can figure out how to do that. What a great lesson to learn about having a positive attitude. It really does have an impact on many areas of our lives. I love the idea of making a list of the good things in your life when you feel sad or you're having a rough day. That helps you refocus and think about the things that you do have that are blessings in your life. And we can all be challenged to be a good friend like that kid at his new school that invited him to play kickball. Just being kind to others is so important. And when we help others, like he said, it's going to change us and it's going to help us too. Well, now it's time for the kids only segment. I just love this part of the show. This is a part where you get to be on the podcast. So my first guest today is Miles.
Where do the Team Rest get it free?
Where?
The dino store.
Okay, that was great. And I especially loved Mom and Dad giving a little laugh at the end. That was good. I have a dinosaur joke too. It's, how do you know there's a dinosaur in the refrigerator? The door won't close. Boom, yep, I have my own drum set here. Just kidding, I don't. Okay, my next joke. See, I just cracked myself up. That's all I do. My next joke is from Gianna.
Why did the toilet paper cross the road?
Why?
Because it was on a roll.
Yeah, I like that joke. Although, if you've gone through the quarantine of 2020, you know you're not supposed to joke about toilet paper. I'm just kidding. You totally can. That was a good one. I like that one, Gianna. Thanks. Hey, I'd love to hear from you guys as well. So if you'd like to be on the podcast, all you have to do is have a grown-up help you go to my podcast website, anchor.fm/collidekidspod. And on that page, there's a place for you to leave me a message. So I'd love to hear your favorite Bible verse or a fun joke, or maybe you know of an encouraging quote or something from a movie that you'd like to say. Anything. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to put you on the podcast. And you can find all this information about how to do that on my social media pages as well. I'm on Facebook at the Collide Kids Podcast or on Instagram at Collide Kids Pod. Also, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to this podcast so that new episodes will automatically load each week into whatever podcast app you're using. Well, this has been so much fun. I hope you've enjoyed this episode with Mr. Tommy Johns and all my friends. In case no one has told you today, I want to let you know that I'm thankful for you, that you are made for a purpose, and God loves you so much. Thanks for listening.
You don't have to go very far looking for bad news because somehow it just finds you. So finding peace in the chaos can be really difficult, but it doesn't have to be because the River mobile app exists. The River is a Christian music radio station dedicated to playing music to help you get through life's toughest moments or life's happiest moments and everywhere in between, and all from artists who love Jesus and are real people just like you. Listening is easy. You can download it wherever you get apps from. Just search 1049 The River or listen online at riverradio.com. And know that The River is proud to partner with the Collide Kids podcast.